The panel members,
guests,
to our supportive teachers,
stakeholders,
fellow researchers,
ladies and gentlemen, a pleasant and wonderful morning to all. We are gathered here today to present our research proposal entitled Students' Perceptions and Attitudes Towards Blended Learning Modality in the New Normal. Before all, I would like to introduce myself and my research companions first. My name is Rijay L. Alabata. With resides to me are my research companions.
Clarence F. Salazar,
Raiseline T. Bukoy,
Aljays T. Haji,
and Christy Jean Manal.
As we all know, blended learning has become an increasingly popular approach to education. It is consisted of the mix of traditional classroom learning, which is face-to-face, with resides to this is the online instructions of learning. The examinations of blended learning modality have been discussed through many years. Although many researchers and many educators have already researched about these implementations, we still need to consider the most important stakeholders of all, the students. Which is why, in this discussion, we are going to explore how the students perceives the blended learning modality in the new normal. We chose this study to help the students improve their skills academically. In addition to this, in how they engage with the activities that the researchers have conducted. This research study was conducted in Culianan National High School under the supervision of our research advisor, which is Mrs. Rosario Pio Capia. Give her a note. We would also like to point out that this topic is very sensitive and offensive, which we highly encourage for the researchers to study it very well and not to trigger any negative emotions of the respondents. At this juncture, I would like to call on Clarence Salazar to present the research questions.
Thank you, Rijay. Once again, good morning to each and everyone. I am Clarence F. Salazar, and I will be the one to discuss our statement of report. One of our main purposes in conducting this research was to assess the relationship between the perception and attitude towards blended learning modality with normal among the students of Culianan National High School for school year 2022-2023. Especially, this research aimed to answer the following questions. First, the researchers was interested in determining the perceptions of the respondents towards blended learning modality in the new normal in terms of process, ease, and contents. Second, the researchers aim to identify the attitude of the respondents towards blended learning modality in the new normal. Next, the researchers seeks to discover the significant relationship between the perception and attitude of the respondents towards blended learning modality in the new normal. Next, the next question seeks to identify the intervention that can be developed after the findings. Lastly, the fifth question was aimed to know what are the perception of the students towards blended and traditional classroom learning modality. Now I will give the floor to Grace Lee.
Thank you, Clarence Salazar. Once again, a pleasant morning to each and everyone. Hi, I am Raiseline T. Bukoy, and I will be the one to discuss to you the significance of our study. The result of this study will be beneficial to the following: Department of Education officials, school principal, teachers, parents, students, and future researchers. Department of Education official. This study could give enlightenment to the Department of Education official that instructing the students by a way of implementing a survey questionnaire will enable the students to improve their capacity in their academic performances toward this blended learning modality. School principal. This study could give insight to the school principal that leading a seminar will greatly benefit the students' ability to communicate effectively knowledge, to interact with others, and to rediscover their motivation and confidence. Next is our teachers. The given data would instruct the teachers on how to deal with the students who are struggling academically towards this blended learning modality. Parents. This study could give idea to parents in comprehending why their kids are struggling with integrated learning. We will also create some preventative strategies to help their kids improve their academic abilities. Students. The findings of this study would help students to have the opportunity to participate in the survey conducted to advance their academic abilities through this blended learning modality. And lastly, future researchers. The result of this study will encourage upcoming researchers to do more and conduct studies that are beneficial to students like them. And now may I call Ajay Sihaji to discuss to you our scope and limitation of the study.
Thank you, Principal Bugoy. Once again, pleasant morning to each and everyone. My name is Aljis DRG, and today I'm going to discuss the scope and the limitations. The objective of this study was to analyze the students' perceptions and attitudes towards blended learning in the new normal. Educational context will then focus on their academic abilities and experiences with this modality. Specifically, the study aimed to identify and assess the factors that influence students' views on the process, pace, and contents of blended learning in this unique environment. By exploring the perspective of the students, we hope to gain insights into how blended learning can be optimized to better support the learning needs and goals in the new normal. At this juncture, I would like to call Christine Manalo to discuss the methodology.
Thank you, Algis. Again, I am Christine Manalo and I will discuss to you about our research methodology. The research design. This research utilized a descriptive correlational quantitative research study. Descriptive because it involves description, records analysis, and interpretation of general characteristic of group under a study. And also it is correlational because it signifies the relationship between students' perceptions and attitudes towards blended learning modalities in the new normal. Next, the population and sample. The participants of this study were randomly selected senior high and junior high school students of Culiana National High School through lottery. Grade 11, Capricorn has the biggest number of respondents with 61 or 55% of the total respondents for the study. It can also be seen in the table that grade 9 patients has 49 or 45% respondents, which represent the smallest number of respondents for the study, and overall, a total of 110 respondents. Next, we have data gathering instrument. This study was used a survey questionnaire to gather the information from the respondents. Next, we have analyzing the gathered data. The following statistical tools was used analyzing and interpreting data after the gathering of responses from the respondents. So first, we have mean. This was used to determine students' perceptions towards blended learning modality in the new normal based on their view in blended learning process, ease, and view in content. This measure will be used to answer problem number 1. Next, we have frequent count and percentage. This was used to determine the students' attitudes towards blended learning in the new normal. This measure will use to answer problem number 2. And last, person, product, moment, correlational coefficient. This was used to determine the significant relationship between students' perceptions and attitudes towards blended learning modality in the new normal. This measure will be used to answer problem number 3. At this point, I would like again to call Vijay Alabata for him to discuss the result and discussion.
Thank you, Christy. And now for the results and discussion. Problem 1 seeks to assess if what on the basis of the findings, what interventions can be developed. This study is going to provide a symposium. D indicates that it depends on what the subject that is being taught. And E represents that it depends on the student's learning preferences and styles. As you can see, the highest rated factor is blended learning is much more challenging than traditional classroom learning. At this juncture, I would like to call on Clarence Zara again to present the conclusions.
Thank you again, Jay. So I will discuss the conclusion of our study. This research study concluded that the perception of students were neutral towards blended learning modality in the new normal in terms on their view on process, ease, and contents. Likewise, the students' attitude were positive towards blended learning modality in the new normal. Furthermore, it also concludes that there is a significant relationship between students' perception and attitude towards blended learning modality in the new normal. And lastly, the respondents perceive that blended learning modality more challenging than traditional classroom learning as their perception towards blended and traditional classroom learning modality. Now I will call again Aljays.
Thank you, Clarence Salazar. As you can, as a result of this study, the following recommendations are proposed. Firstly, DepEd officials, both national and local, may formulate programs and workshops for students and teachers to improve the way blended learning modality is implemented. This program shall focus on enhancing the quality of learning materials, optimizing the use of technology, and addressing the challenges encountered in blended learning. Secondly, school administrators may conduct training and seminars for teachers related to promoting positivity with the use of blended learning modality. These seminars shall aim to equip teachers with the skills and knowledge necessary to engage and motivate students in blended learning. Thirdly, it is recommended to conduct a study to explore how students perceive blended learning with respect to their attitudes and perceptions towards it. This study can provide further insights into the factors that contribute to students' acceptance or rejections of blended learning modality. Lastly, a descriptive comparative study can also be done to better understand and underlying factors driving a weak correlation between students' attitudes and perceptions towards blended learning modality. This study can provide a more in-depth analysis of the factors affecting students' engagements and motivations in blended learning, and as well as the barriers that hinder their learning experience. In this juncture, I would like to call Rilly Alabata for the closing remarks.
It is with hope that this proposal will be considered favorably and that the research will be carried out to better more our understanding about our research, students' perceptions and attitudes towards blended learning modality in the new normal. Thank you, that's all. The stage is now open for any inquiries and questions.